I can't. Christopher Mad Dog Russo, what is in that orange juice that is what's happening right now?
Oh, he loves that South Beach.
Oh, he loves it. He thinks he's Miami Vice.
What's going on?
Sometimes he thinks he's Tony Montana.
What's up, doggy? What's up, doggy?
Oh, you've had
What's
it
up?
today. You have had it with
Hey,
so
listen.
many ideas.
Let me tell you something right now. I got very, very bad news for you, doggy.
What's
Other
that?
than the fact that you're about to get beat down for 2 hours, I have very bad news for you. Where I'm at right now, it ain't Ireland, baby. It ain't Ireland. First takes in the house. Let's go.
This man.
Welcome to the Eastern Conference Finals between the Celtics and the Heat.
I'm Jason Tatum. I don't think anybody on the Heat team can defend it.
This rising superstar has been just magnificent. Tatum, sidestep, three-pointer, puts it in. The third quarter has been the best quarter for the Heat so far in these playoffs. What a turnaround here in this third period. This is a Miami Heat avalanche.
The start that Jason Tatum had sparked something in Jimmy Butler.
I don't care if it's a big stage or who's watching. I know why I do what I do.
I mean, did you see Esteban right there? He's just really feeling it.
He looks
Bienvenidos a Miami.
Excuse me.
Yes, let's hear it.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
When I am in South Beach, I will remind you, Miss Spanish lesson taking Molly Karam.
Yeah, I'm
It
in
is
school.
Esteban, not Esteban.
Oh my God.
Esteban. Remember that.
Esteban.
Hey, doggy.
I'm not going to argue with you about that.
Hey, doggy.
Buenos dias, ¿cómo estás?
Yes.
Buenos dias, ¿cómo está, brother? ¿Cómo está? What's going on, my man?
I love South Beach too, baby. But I wanted Milwaukee and Memphis in that NBA final in the worst freaking way, and I didn't get it. Unbelievable.
That's right.
Did you
The
have a great
gods
time
were
in
on
Europe?
my side.
Yeah, I did. I saw a lot
You
of
had a great
cows.
trip?
Saw a lot
Good.
of cows and sheep. But I
that's
went
fun.
to the Cliff of Moors on the West Coast, and I
Gorgeous.
went over the little rail. They let you go over the little rail, and it was windy, and one gust of wind,
Yeah.
and I would have been in the rocks, baby.
Oh, my goodness.
Finished!
Oh, my
But I
God.
survived.
Benito, but you
But I
made it.
survived.
You know what? I'm glad you went sightseeing. Stephen A. sightseeing, too, in Miami,
Well-
but it's not cows and sheep. I can promise
I guarantee you that.
I would tell you this. When you bring up Milwaukee and Memphis, that would have been Bratwurst versus Elvis. Didn't mesh. Didn't make any sense. This is where we need to be. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, Stephen A., we're one game in the right direction for you to be there for quite some time. Let's get into it. But, fellas, really, it was a tale of two halves because Boston came into that game with Al Horford or Marcus Smart, but led for most of the first. Then the second half, the Heat was turned up behind a huge third quarter from Jimmy Buckets to take game one in a 118-107 victory. Butler put up 41, 9, and 5. He's at the mic.
More than anything, it just shows us what we're capable of whenever we worry about getting stops, getting into the open floor, getting to the free throw line, all of those good things. It just reminds me that we can do it. I see it on this piece of paper. I lived it, so I expect us to be able to do that every quarter from here on out.
Got out tough, out physical. They looked like they came out in the second half, and wanted to up their physicality and aggression on both ends, and they did that.
You know, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, I want the Celtics to win. My father's a diehard Celtics fan. But I got to ask you this, especially watching that third quarter. Have we underestimated the greatness of Jimmy Butler and the Heat?
I think I certainly have. I know you're going to play a little video of me killing him. I didn't kill him. But
Excuse me? Don't tell the audience.
I'm
the one who teases things.
Yeah, that's
you
not
just
me.
give me your take here, buddy.
Well, here's what I would say about this game yesterday. First off, I think the Celtics were going to win in 6 games, so let's put that on the table here first. I thought the Celtics be a little flat yesterday early on based on the quick turnaround from beating the Bucks on Sunday afternoon. By the way, was one of the worst Game 7s I've ever seen played with 88 threes shot in 48 minutes. I couldn't deal with it, too many threes. But I thought that the Celtics would have a little trouble yesterday. So the fact that the game, to me, the most surprising part of it is the Celtics had that 13-point lead in the first half, led it to half, and you figured they got around the fatigue, had recovered from the 2 injuries with Smart and, of course, Horford and health protocols. So you thought they were in good shape. And that third quarter is a huge You know, that would worry me if I'm a Celtic fan. I don't want to hear about they won the other 3 quarters. Nobody cares. They got outscored 39-14 in the third quarter. That's all people care about. Nobody cares they won the first, second, or fourth. They got destroyed in that third quarter. So that alarmed me a little bit. If they lost the game, just lost the game outright, okay. But the fact they had a 13-point lead in a half and then lost basically by double digits, that would concern me. As far as Butler is concerned, before we throw it to Stephen A., listen, you love him because he makes his free throws. He gets to the free throw line. He fills up his box score. I didn't like him not playing Game 5 against Atlanta last time we were here. You know what? They won that game anyway. He's going to give you a good 40 minutes every night. He doesn't necessarily have to shoot a million threes. Not afraid of taking a big shot. I got to see more. Stephen A. now is going to put him on the pantheon of the all-time greats. I got to see a little more besides Game 1 of a conference final. But if you're a basketball fan, which we all are, you have to be very impressed with how Butler sort of set the tempo, steals, and everything else. I still think the Celtics win. I still think they win in 6 games, but obviously, and here's one other thing before Stephen A. They won Game 6 in Milwaukee facing elimination. 46 Tatum, we all know the fourth quarter. They won Game 6 in Milwaukee, so let's not be an alarmist and say, oh, the Celtics are now dead. Because if they won a 6th game in Milwaukee against the defending champs, they can bounce back after Game 1 against the Heat.
You're right.
Well, first of all, let me just say this. Boy, did I miss you. It's good to see you, my man. It's good to see you, you know, because, I mean, nobody throws up the lobs better than you. Better than you. You and your preemptive strikes where you try to throw something out there to preempt what I'm about to say. Well, guess what, doggy? It doesn't work for you this time. It never has, and it's not going to work for you today. So, Mad Dog Russo bringing up Jimmy Butler. And I know Stevie, he's just going to throw that stuff out about Jimmy Butler. Well, could y'all please play the tapes of exactly what I'm talking about? Since Doggy brought it up, could you roll that tape for me, please? I really would like to see it again.
Jimmy Butler is going to sit there and he's going to be he's going to be Kareem. He's going to be Jerry West. Let's take it easy. Oscar Robertson. Let's take it easy. Let me see them now go out there and turn around and beat Philly. Beat Harden, who's got a lot of pressure on him, as Stephen A. has told us forever. Go beat Embiid. When they do that, we can sit there and we can start putting Jimmy Butler on this elevated plateau where everybody, including our little partner here, wants to put him at. You guys like to put these players, you guys, all of you. I mean, can we see some hardware?
See what I'm saying? You know, he just gave it to me. I mean, he didn't waste any time. He sat up there and just threw me that lob. Didn't even wait an hour to do it. He gave it to me right off the top of the show. It's just beautiful setup. Because the fact of the matter is, Mad Dog Russo, you have underestimated Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler thinks it's all of us. He thinks it's all of us. I mean, he's walking around thinking, hey, y'all have underestimated me. I'm going to show y'all something. But we also understand that with stars, they create things. They manufacture things to elevate their level of motivation so they can go at particular opponents. I'm not taking it personal. No problem at all. The bottom line is I got the Celtics winning this series. Because Horford and Smart were out yesterday, I pretty much knew they would lose this game, which is what I said prior to the game. They wasn't going to win this game without Smart and Horford. They need at least one of them, particularly Smart, I might add, when you consider the level of toughness that the Miami Heat put on display last night. I still think the Celtics will win this series in 7 games, but that's with the assumption that both Smart and Horford will be available. If they're talking about Horford missing 3 to 4 games in this series, the Celtics are not winning this series over these Miami Heats. And I think the third quarter showed us why. They came out, we got to put this in its proper perspective, doggy. They came out of the locker room and bum rushed the Boston Celtics. For that quarter, they punked the Boston Celtics. That's why you saw Marcus Smart screaming at them. That's why you saw Ime Udoka in players' faces like we've never seen him before. That's why we saw Grant Williams giving pushback and what have you. Because Udoka was like, what the hell is going on here? And you're Jason Tatum. We all know that Jason Tatum is a star. This brother's got an incredible future. I think there are championships on the horizon for him. No shade on him whatsoever in terms of his resume, his potential, what the future holds. Specifically and only regarding the third quarter, what the hell was wrong with Jason Tatum? I mean, you sit up there, you only attempt 2 shots, you turn over the ball 6 times.
Yep.
6 times he turned the ball over in the third quarter. And Miami, led by Jimmy Butler, but also assisted by everybody else, were all over the Boston Celtics. What they did was they used the Celtics formula against them. The Celtics did it to them in the first half. They came out in the third quarter and said, who the hell are we? You have Kyle Lowry and Udonis Haslem and Jimmy Butler and the veterans in that locker room. PJ Tucker, let's not forget him and the intensity he brings to the table, which is why Milwaukee never should have lost him. They never should have let him go. The bottom line is they're in that locker room and they're saying, who the hell are we? Let's take it to them. And they were physical. They were up in the Boston Celtics like a pair of drawers. I mean, it was crazy. And they just took their heart right out of their chest for those 12 minutes, and it was too much to overcome. That's what happened game one. I do not believe it will happen like that again this series, but for the third quarter last night only, the Boston Celtics got punked, and they got their hearts stripped right out of their chest. And that's why they're down 0-1 in this series.
Well, you're right about Tatum in the third quarter. Let me do a little mulligan on that, Molly, because about a month ago, he makes me do these lists, and I sort of hesitated about putting Tatum in the top 10. Dead wrong. Top 10. We all know he's been a phenomenal postseason player here in these two series. So let me take a little. I'm not going to take a mulligan on all the things he says. And we'll do a little Chris Paul a little later on. With the 1 point in the first half in Game 7 at home, losing by 50 points.
Will you stop telling the show that you got to wait?
I'm in Ireland, and I get a message from the big guy. Point God. Point God. I said to myself, when I watched that pathetic performance on Sunday, I said, you know what? I don't know him well enough to throw it right back at him. So I didn't, but I'll say it now loudly. Point God. Oh, baby Doncic on Sunday afternoon. But having said that, let's take a mulligan with Tatum. So let's do that. Before we all, and him and I are in agreement with the Celtics, let's be careful. They lost game 1 to Milwaukee. Everybody said, boy, the Bucks and Giannis, they beat them badly in Boston. Celtics are in big trouble. And that was a home game. Everybody said when they blew the 14-point lead in Game 5. I didn't see it. I was counting sheep at that time at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the games, by the way, are on in Ireland at 12:30 at night on Sky TV. So if you want to watch the 5-hour time difference, you can. That one I didn't see.
Thank you for that plug.
You got it. That one I didn't see. But, you know, everybody thought after they blew a 14-point lead that they were dead in Game 6 and they bounced back. They deserve a little respect. Nice third quarter by Miami. They did an excellent job. The first game does not make a series,
I got it.
Mr. Smith.
I got it. I agree with that, which is why I said Celtics in 7, if you heard me correctly. But did you just give a little dissertation about how to watch NBA action in Ireland? Is that what you just did?
I told you that, yes. I did.
He's here for the people. Hey, by the way, I can barely hear Stephen A. right now. So, guys, let me tee up this next topic and then deal with my audio issues. Okay, Stephen A., if you can hear me.
Yes.
Obviously, gentlemen, second half adjustments, right? A major factor here for Miami, the veteran coaching by one of the best in the game, and that would be Eric Spoelstra. So it was quite a time in Heat history when LeBron was in town for 4 of Spoelstra's 5 finals appearances, including both championship trophies, came during the Kings' reign. Spoelstra was named one of the 15 greatest coaches in NBA history, part of NBA 75. Russo, I'll start with you. So what's at stake for Spoelstra specifically in this series?
Well, he did a great job 2 years ago in the bubble, getting in a renewal final. To me, I cannot make him top 15 coaches in the history of the NBA. We'll do a little of that later on. I can't do that. He won the 2 championships with LeBron. He also lost 2 finals with LeBron. 1 he should never have lost.
Wait,
to
what's
Dallas.
wrong with winning 2 with LeBron?
Should have won 4.
Okay.
They lost with.
Oh,
they lost
my
to Dallas.
Lord.
Hold on now. They lost to Dallas. There's no way they ever should have lost that series. You know better than that. That was terrible when Nowitzki beat them. They shouldn't have lost that series. And he also, of course, lost another series with San Antonio where they got routed in 5 games. But I'm not here to sort of say that, you know, this about Spurs. But again, everybody here at this, especially him, he should know better. We put these coaches on these incredible levels. He's this, he's that, he's that. John Kundra should be in the top 15. He coached the Minnesota in the 50s, who won 4 titles.
God.
It drives you crazy. I like Spoelstra. I love Riley. I know what he's done. But can he win a championship without LeBron and Wade before we put him on these incredible levels like you and your little cohorts like to do? Can we see some of that first?
First of all, you're utterly ridiculous. This is not, listen, you're so ridiculous about this. If I hear you talking about this on your radio show, I'm calling in. It's ridiculous. Let's count the ways. Is Phil Jackson a top 15 coach of all time? Of course he is.
Yeah,
who was he coach? Hold on. I'm going down the list. Let me speak, sir. Here, Mr. Ireland. Listen to me right now, okay? So you got Jordan, you got Pippen, you got Rodman, all right? Okay, and then you had Shaq and Kobe. All right, we got Pat Riley. Oh, I'm sorry, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, Byron Scott, Norm Nixon. Before that, Michael Copa, Michael Thompson, and the rest of the crew. Bob McAdoo, for crying out loud. We got Pat Riley, okay? You look at that. All right, we got Chuck Daly. Oh, what are we talking about here? Isaiah Thomas? Joe Dumars and the bad boys. All right, let's count the ways. Let's go from there. We got Steve Kerr. We got Steph Curry. We got Klay Thompson. We got the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of basketball. We holding that against them? Of course, we're not doing that. We got Greg Popovich. We got Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, David Robinson, Tony Parker. Are we holding that against them? No. Hell with it. Let's go to Red Auerbach. Let's go back to the times you're so familiar with when you got when you sat up there and you got Red Auerbach. Bill Russell, all right, Bob Cousy, Havlicek, and the rest of the crew. Sam Jones, you think I forgot about his name? Of course I did it. All right, we got that going on. Let's go with the Knicks because, God forbid, I don't remember the Knicks. The only time they ever were relevant winning championships in 69 and 73, or 70 and 73 rather. Who do we have here? DeBusschere, Bradley, Reed, Frazier. I mean, come on now. And you're going to sit up here with a straight face in the year 2022, acting like you the only one that knows history. I just gave you some historical components to look at. And then we're looking at this team right now, Eric Spoelstra. You go to 4 straight finals. You win back-to-back titles. The last title that you lost to the San Antonio Spurs, D-Wade wasn't 100%. The first title that you lost to Dallas, LeBron James openly admits it was the worst that he had ever played in a championship round. I mean, come on now. And then on top of it all, with the bubble, with all these distractions and a level of discipline and commitment and fervor and everything that it requires, Eric Spoelstra got them to the NBA Finals, okay? And we're going to ignore the fact that this man is as great as he has been as a head coach. He's one of the best coaches in the game, and he clearly is one of the best coaches ever. And Pat Riley validates that because when there was speculation as to whether or not the Stars would want Eric Spoelstra to be their coach, Pat Riley made it very clear. He ain't going any damn where. Eric Spoelstra's one of the best in the business. You better recognize, doggy.
Well, first thing is, you're giving him credit for the bubble, but you don't give LeBron credit for winning the championship in the bubble.
That's not me.
So which one
give him
is
credit. Patrick Beverley didn't give him credit for the bubble. I give LeBron credit for the bubble.
Yeah, was an impossible title. So you can't give Spoelstra the credit for getting to a final and then blow off the fact that LeBron hasn't done anything in L.A. and they should trade him.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You said you should get rid of him 2 weeks ago.
I didn't. Excuse me? What'd you say?
LeBron, you said the Lakers should trade him.
Hold on, time out. See, you misrepresent. You're being slick.
That's what you said.
No. What I said was, it should be considered because he is so great, he's the only asset they have, so you can get parts for him because you're not winning with him with the rest of the people who you have around him. That's what I said. Is that not factual?
May I continue?
Yes, you may.
Did you forget about Raleigh's job with the Knicks? And he won a championship in Miami.
Of course I didn't forget about that.
Don't sit there and tell me that Hardaway and Mourning and the Miami team was that great.
Who did he have in Miami? Who did he have in Miami?
He had Mourning and Hardaway. That was not a great team.
No. He had Mourning, he had D-Wade, and he had Shaq.
Well, Shaq was old and Wade was a young player.
He wasn't that old yet. What are you talking about?
Shaq was 40.
Shaq
now you're going to tell me that Shaq was in his prime when they beat Dallas in 06?
But he was still a diesel. He was still the diesel. He wasn't what he was in Boston and Cleveland. He was still a diesel. Come on now.
Take it easy. That was not a great game.
Hold on.
Dallas blew that series. You know that better than anybody.
Stop it. First of all, no. D-Wade averaged 37 and a half the last 4 games of that series.
I love Bennett, but Bennett put D-Wade at at the line in Game 3 down 2-0 to make free throws, and that killed Dallas in that series. But forget that.
Are you questioning the greatness of Dwayne Wade in that series?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But that was not a great team.
D-Wade put on
that
the
was
show.
not a great team. That was not a great team.
Excuse me.
That 06 Miami team was not a great team.
Excuse me. The Miami Heat, you had a defensive wizard in Alonzo Mourning that the Dallas Mavericks wanted no part of. They wanted Shaq to stay on the court because Alonzo Mourning was such a force defensively. Shaq obviously was still a force offensively. D-Wade was a superstar. Antoine Walker and those boys could ball. What are you talking about?
That was not a great team. The Mavericks blew a 2-0 lead in that series. They never should have lost. But forget that. We're going to the coaches. All right? Jackson went to the Lakers after he won the championships with the Bulls, and they were down 13 early in the fourth quarter in Game 7 against Portland with a very young team. They hadn't won yet with Shaq and Kobe, and he kept that team together. They came back against Pippen and the Trailblazers and won that title. Right there, he was worth every penny they paid him. And that showed you why Jackson is a superb coach. You got a moment like that for Eric? You got a moment like that when he was in dire straits and he figured out a way to calm everybody down. And don't compare him to Arabak. Will you please? That's not fair. You're going to compare him to Arabak?
So I can't answer the question.
You can't be doing that.
I can't answer the question. So you just go talk. You ain't gonna let me counter. So the moment that you're talking about with Portland, where Kobe threw the alley-oop to Shaq and sealed the deal at the Staples Center years before it became Crypto.com Arena. Whoever the hell came up with that idea. Oh my God, don't get me started with that. But nevertheless, you had Portland that had them on the ropes. They had them 15 down. The Lakers came back led by Shaq and Kobe, closed the deal en route to their first title ever. So you want to give Phil Jackson credit for that?
Absolutely.
Time out. But we don't want to give Spoelstra credit for when Ray Allen was in the game and he capitalized off the fact that Greg Popovich foolishly had Tim Duncan on the bench. Chris Bosh grabs the offensive rebound, feeds it to Ray Allen, and Ray Allen drills the three, ultimately to put them in overtime in the seal and ultimately force a Game 7. We don't want to give Eric Spoelstra credit for that, but we want to give Phil Jackson credit for what he did, right?
Steve, it's a different team. The Lakers were a young team that hadn't won anything yet. They were a fractured team against a very good Trailblazer team. The Heat had already won a championship with Bosh,
they were the
Wade,
defending champions.
and LeBron, and Ray Allen. It's a different kind of team.
Last point.
And Jack.
Last
party's
point.
almost over, fellas.
Last point. They were defending champions at the time, going up against a champion. See, Portland hadn't won. The Lakers hadn't won. In this case, Miami had won, and years earlier, San Antonio had won. So what they did against the champion. Thank you very much. Case closed. Let's move on.
Fair point.
Oh,
Fair
my
point.
goodness.
Fair point.
You're damn right it
Miami.
is.
Fair point.
You're damn right. See,
he's good.
You think I don't remember these
things?
Please,
you don't need to compliment him. I promise you don't need to compliment him. He'll do that for himself.
Hey, Molly, just because the outfit is looking nice and the hairdo is slamming don't mean you got to side with Doggy, okay?
Wait,
you understand
I
what
have
I'm
to
saying?
say something.
If he's
Hold
wrong,
on.
he's wrong.
Hold on,
right.
that's a great compliment, Stephen A., because my hair person didn't show up. So I did this in about 1 second. So
Good job.
I'm glad.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good
awesome.
Job. 2 weeks ago when I was gone, not so much. But today, fabulous.
See, you couldn't just give me the compliment.
No, you couldn't.
It had to be backhanded. It had to be. Okay. Carrying on, gentlemen. We got a game tonight. Western Conference Finals, Game 1. I cannot wait for this. Luke versus Steph. Let's get it. The crown potentially for best offensive player on the line after this series. So Luka did just about everything for Dallas, right? In the West semis versus the Suns, including 5 straight 25-point double-doubles. He joins a trio of Hall of Famers, including 2 of the most dominant forces in NBA history, to do it age 23 or younger. Mad Dog. Has Luka proven he's the best offensive player in the association, sir?
Listen, he is with the players that he is playing with, he is a tremendous player. Not only that, we talk about these top 5 point guards. I mean, making a big deal about Chris. This guy is going to be, you put him on the list right now. This guy is going to be an all-time.
He's a dog.
This guy is an all-timer. He is going to be one of the all-time greats in the history of the sport.
He might become an immortal.
He might be.
He might be
already. The guy's 22, 23 years of age, and he's not exactly working with great players around him. Resourceful team, but not great players. He ripped the heart out of the Suns the other night, and that's what I want to get to with him for a second. What you like about Doncic, he's got a little Larry Bird in him. You know, Larry Bird, he was so arrogant because he knew he was so good that he enjoyed beating you.
Yeah.
He laughed at you. He took your heart out and said, get out of here. He'd rip his grandmother's arm off to win. And Doncic has got a lot of that same personality. He's fearless. He's averaging 40 points a game in elimination games so far in his career. He destroyed the Suns. He plays back to the basket. He can do that. He can shoot threes. He's an excellent passer. I mean, he is a tremendous player. Now, I don't know what Stevie's going to say about Curry.
Yeah.
If you're asking me right now, he's better than Curry because he could do more things that Curry can't play back to the basket. And Curry, when he didn't have Thompson and Draymond and all those guys, last year they got beat by Memphis. He is playing with nobody. And he just beat a team that had 64 wins, 8 wins more than anybody else. And he didn't just beat them.
Yeah.
He had 27 points in the first half and embarrassed the point guard who scored 1 point and was a disaster. This guy is so good. And he is, I'm telling you right now, write it down. I'll say it. I don't care what you say. You can laugh at me. I'll be back in 15 years. We'll rehearse it. This guy, at the end of the day, is going to be a top 10 player in the history of the NBA. That's how good. That's how good.
Top 10 in the history of the NBA, and he might become an immortal.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how good he is.
Stephen, I don't know about that grandmother's arm analogy, but everything else was excellent.
Okay.
Stephen A.
I don't rule out the superlatives that Doggy just, echoed about Luka Doncic and what he will end up being. I don't rule that out. I think that when we look at Luka Doncic, we can see all of that. But when we talk about the best offensive player in the NBA, at this moment in time, I don't give a damn that he's playing and Kevin Durant is not. He ain't a better offensive player than Kevin Durant. You can cancel that dream. You stop that nonsense. The best offensive player on the planet Earth is Kevin Durant. There is not an offensive player that is better than Kevin Durant. You can scratch that dream. When I look at Luka Doncic, I will remind y'all, even though it's 46, 47, 45% from the field over the last 3 years, averaging, close to 28 a game and stuff like that. We know he makes big shots. We know how talented Luka is. We know he's got tons of heart. He dictates pace. You don't speed him up. He doesn't play at a fast pace, but you're not going to dictate how slow he goes or how fast he goes. He's the one that dictates that because he is special. He is no Kevin Durant. He is a career 73% shooter from the free throw line. He is a career 33% shooter from three-point range. I would remind you, we are talking about freaking Kevin Durant here. Okay, 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan, who is an absolute positive sniper. He can hit you from threes. He's got a mid-range game that's second to none. You look at that. He obviously can finish at the basket, stuff like that. He got a little fatigued in the end with all the drama and nonsense that he had to deal with this year in Brooklyn. I will remind y'all, before Kevin Durant went down with his injury that kept him out about 17 or 18 straight games, the Brooklyn Nets were tied without Kyrie Irving, with a hobbled, out of shape, and unfocused or non-committed James Harden. Kevin Durant had the Brooklyn Nets tied for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, ahead of Miami, ahead of Milwaukee, ahead of Philadelphia, ahead of Chicago, ahead of them all. This is Kevin Durant we talking about here, 2-time champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP. Now, what's going to knock, the ultimate thing that knocks Kevin Durant is the misguided loyalty, because he is loyal to a fault when it comes to Kyrie Irving instead of holding him accountable and making sure that brother is on the court with you. Obviously, that's a different subject for another day. But in terms of strictly ball skills, Kevin Durant is the greatest offensive player on the planet. There is nowhere you can go. There is no one you can find that is a better all-around complete package of an offensive player than Kevin Durant is. Athleticism, ball handling skills, long-range jump shooting, mid-range jump shooting, open court ability, everything. Don't give me no Luka Doncic when it comes to Kevin Durant. Stop that.
Listen, you must have missed the Celtics series. I don't know where you were. Sauncing around South Beach, where he was, and I love Durant. I love him like he does, like Stevie does. I love Durant. I'm a big Durant fan. I love the guy. He just comes to play. Is he a great leader with Irving? Stevie's right. Of course he isn't. but I love him. But be fair. Be fair. That performance against the Celtics was awful. And don't sit there and tell me about the Celtic defense. I don't want to hear it. I just saw Jimmy Butler score 41 last night. All right, I don't want to hear about this Celtic defense or they stopped Durant, blah, 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 blah. I've never seen Doncic play a game like that. And if you're going to bring up last year in Milwaukee when he had the 48 in Game 5, Doncic should have, if he decided he wanted to play, he would have scored 60 on Sunday night. He would have scored 60. He would, not yet. He would have scored 60. Laugh, that was funny. He would have scored 60. I love Durant. But did you miss the 4 games? He was awful in the opening round. You got to be fair and at least throw that in the equation.
I am being fair, and I'm saying to you he absolutely had an awful series. I think conditioning was a factor. I think the fact that he had limited help was a factor. I think the fact that he was playing with guys, particularly a star in Kyrie Irving that hadn't been there more than half the season, was a factor. I think a lot of stuff caught up with them, and you saw Kevin Durant. And this is the one thing, and you'll appreciate what I'm about to say, Doggy. Tell me if there's one indictment that we can have on Steve Nash above all else. Tell me one easy shot that Kevin Durant has had. When you look at the absence of movement of the basketball, questionable spacing, it's like, okay, Kyrie, okay, Kevin Durant, you're the stars. Take us there. As opposed to opportunities being created. You see other coaches like the Spoelstras of the world and others creating sets where you guys are getting open shots. They're not just getting the ball. They're actually getting open shots. That's one component. The other thing to take into consideration, let's go to Jimmy Butler last night. Sensational performance in Game 1. 41 points in 41 minutes. The brother did shoot 18 free throws now. He got to the free throw line. He clearly is stronger than Kevin Durant. He's willing to play with the back to the basket, and the intention on the perimeter that a Kevin Durant would require, that's not Jimmy Butler. So you find yourself in a situation where he can muscle you a little bit, but you're not paying rapt attention to him the way that you do to a Durant on the perimeter. He goes down near the block or 15 feet and in, and what is he doing? He's turn around jumpers, posting you up, getting to the free throw line, stuff like that. And that worked in his favor. So he poses a different problem for Boston than Kevin Durant does because he's clearly more physical, because he's stronger, considerably stronger than a Kevin Durant, and that's what comes into play. I'm talking skills, offensively speaking. Think about who we're talking about here. We're talking about a dude in Kevin Durant that is, not will be, one day, and when all is said and done, blah, blah, blah. He already is one of the greatest offensive talents the history of the game has ever seen. And there is no doubt about that.
No argument. Who's arguing? Well, you have not yet. And don't give me about the physicality. He was, be fair. Be fair. He was awful against the Celtics.
They were awful. The whole team was awful. He had no help.
You got to take a hit for that. Steve, you got to take a hit for that. If you're Durant, you got to take a hit for that.
No, he is taking a hit. He is taking a hit for that. But that don't mean you take the kind of hit that says Luka Doncic's better. No, you're going too far. You're going too far. I'm not saying Kevin Durant doesn't deserve a hit, but you know why he takes a hit, Doggy? Because our expectations of him is not what he lived up to. But that don't mean we forget why we had those expectations. This brother's Kevin Durant. Fall back and recognize he's Kevin Durant.
Okay. The two of you.
I love him.
I mean, I love it. And now we're bringing in Pat Bev. That's a lot for me. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I can handle it. Plenty more still to come here on First Take. ESPN released their NFL power rankings. Stephen A. and Doggy disagree. Shocker. Who should be at the very top? Also, diving back into that Celtics series, did Jimmy Butler prove he's the best player in this series? I don't know, Mikey. I need the hands to really sell it. But there's another move you do with the hands, too. What is it exactly? No. There's oh, yeah, it's this.
Oh, this. Yeah, I love to do that. I love to do the up and down.
That's when things get really...
This. He does this. Yeah, Molly does this. These are the two things he does. He does this.
Yeah,
and then he does this.
I do the up. That's, I do the thing. I do that one.
You got it going. Yeah, you got it going.
This is the official the NFL official about juggling the ball, not a reception. That's where I got that from. And you should have seen me do the old Jake O'Donnell thing when he used to call the blocking foul. You remember when Jake O'Donnell, Stevie, used to run down baseline to baseline and do the blocking foul? I used to do that all the time when I was
That was good, though. That impression was a lot of fun. It's good.
Fun.
I like it.
And that was the schedule thing because we used to do that with my old radio partner, the wins and losses.
It's a loss.
It's
a loss.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I just don't have the New York accent. Not as good. All right. We'll keep it going here, guys. Monday, ESPN released its NFL power rankings for the upcoming season as voted on by our reporters. So here's how the list came out. The Bills at number 1, followed by the defending champions. Then Brady's Bucks, the Chiefs, and Packers rounding out the top 5. Mad Dog, which team do you think should be numero uno?
I think you have to put Kansas City there. I would not put the Bills number 1. I mean, they lost to the Chiefs, obviously badly, and a terrible job by McDermott. We all know what happened in a playoff game. I understand the Bills are a very trendy team right now. Josh Allen opened up against the Rams on the first Thursday night.
Yeah.
But, the Chiefs have won. They've been to 2 Super Bowls, and they have won one already. And I'm going to give Mahomes a little bit of a pass for that awful second half against Cincinnati when he was terrible in the game. And he's the reason they lost. He's earned that, so he gets a mulligan. So I'm going to put the Chiefs.
No Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't worry about that with Andy Reid. They brought Schuster in from Pittsburgh. I know Hill's great, but they'll figure that out. I'm not worried about his offense. I would put Kansas City 1. The other thing I would do there, and then Stevie will fire back and kill me, I'm taking the Rams out. I think the Rams last year, everything went right for them. They got, they beat Tampa. Tampa was a little older. They got through that game. Aaron Donald won't be quite as good. Beckham's got the ACL. No draft picks. I think they'd be a little flat. I think they'd be a little flat after they won. I was so emotional. I think that will take a little something out of them. And they got a brutal schedule. They play at Kansas City, at Green Bay, just for starters. So I would take them out of the top 5 entirely, and I'm putting Kansas City ahead of Buffalo. Those are the 2 things I'm doing. Go ahead. Let me hear.
I wasn't even going to bring up the Rams, but I just want to make sure for clarification purposes, because I'm talking to Mad Dog Russo. We're talking about an iconic figure in the world of sports who has his own channel. His own channel with a bunch of dudes, you understand, that watch everything he does, and they watch it First Take now because they dissect every damn segment. I hear them calling into your show. I listen. Let me ask you this question. Did you just say on national television?
Yeah, I did.
You don't believe Aaron Donald is going to be
I think he's a great.
good?
No, I just think there's going to be a little after hangover. That's all. Simple.
A little from Aaron Donald. The monster that is Aaron Donald.
He's
that
great.
Dude.
Dude. I know.
Oh, my God.
Were they
I'm
fortunate? Well, let me ask you this way.
I'm going to pray for you.
Were they fortunate to beat the Rams? I'm sorry, to beat Tampa. They could have lost that game.
What do you mean? That's what you want to call? You want to call Stafford connected with Kupp on a fly pattern down the field to seal the deal? You want to call that luck? I don't call that luck. Now, they did give up a 27-9 lead. I get all of that, and Tom Brady came storming back, and there were a couple of mishaps like the snap that went by Stafford when he wasn't looking, so there was a miscommunication there. So some luck went in the Tampa Bay's direction. But when it really, really counted, and all you needed was a stop, what did Stafford and Kupp do?
Great. Yeah,
what did Stafford and Kupp do? That ain't
100%.
luck. That's
100%.
skill. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, what about the Super Bowl? Because this is what I wanted. And I fantasized about this, Doggy. You weren't here. But I fantasized about this. Everybody's been making all of this noise about Joe Burrow, who I think is a stud. I think the brother can play. But I wanted to see, I was praying that Stafford and them boys would score the go-ahead touchdown so we could see Joe Burrow against that Rams defense and Aaron Donald. And give us what you got. Let's see who's going to steal a deal. And what did Aaron Donald do to seal that deal on those last 4 deaths? I mean, we talk about Aaron Donald here, okay? One of the greatest ever. And you're like, oh, there's going to be a Super Bowl hangover. Stevie, there's going to be a Super Bowl hangover. They're ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous.
That's not ridiculous.
Now, hold on. Now let me get to the Buffalo Bills.
Go ahead.
They lost in the divisional playoff game to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
42-36. Josh Allen couldn't get the ball back. I'm one of those guys, just so you know, Doggy, I am a proponent of I mean, come playoff time, I don't want to hear that, okay, the first touchdown wins, okay? In other words, I don't mind that when both of them touch the ball. But I don't like the fact that at least you could avoid somebody touching the damn football in overtime. This notion, well, guess what? You had 60 minutes, rather, to win the game. Damn that. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are going against one another. Just like 3 years earlier or so, it was Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes going up against one another. And Patrick Mahomes had to sit on the sideline while Brady drove the Patriots downfield and got the winning touchdown without him ever seeing the field in overtime. I don't like that. When you got stars like that, I want to see them going at it. I want to see both of them touch the ball in overtime. But I bring all of that up to say this. Josh Allen is big time. Devil Singletary is no scrub out of the backfield. You got Jamison Crowder that's there now as a wideout to join Stephon Diggs. That offense was ranked top 3 overall, top 10 in passing, top 6 running the football. And the defense isn't too shabby. Now, I know that's a bad thing to say, considering Leslie Frazier and McDermott and that defense couldn't stop the Chiefs from getting in field goal range in 13 seconds. I know that's a catastrophe. I get all of that. But in the end, the Buffalo Bills have put us all on notice. They are coming. And I'm not going to put anybody ahead of them right now, especially when the Chiefs let go of Tyreek Hill. I know you got Juju Smith-Schuster. I know you got a couple other weapons. You still got McCole Hardman. You still got Travis Kelce, my brother from another mother. But I'm here to tell you, you lose Tyreek Hill, things are going to change. I'm rolling with the Bills as the top seed in the AFC. They're the top team to beat.
First off, 13 seconds with that terrible job by McDermott, plus the kicking the ball deep.
And Leslie Frazier.
That was an atrocious. He's got to win some games here. That was an atrocious performance. And if you're going to go make such a big deal about the Rams, why don't you put them 1? Why don't you put them 1? You put the Bills ahead of the Rams, and the Bills lost in the quarterfinals, and the Rams won the whole thing, and you're killing me on the Rams, and you got them 2.
No,
put them 1.
I'm killing you on what you said about Aaron Donald.
Why do you have the Bills ahead of the Rams?
No. What I'm saying to you is this. First of all, I don't put the Bills ahead of the Rams because I think the NFC is considerably weaker. But what I was addressing with Doggy was what he said about Aaron Donald. I wasn't even addressing the Rams. I'm just saying you said that about Aaron Donald. What's the matter with you? That's crazy. You don't talk about Aaron Donald like that. This is Aaron Donald we're talking about.
Didn't he tell us the day after the Super Bowl that he was thinking about retiring?
So what?
Okay, no, that doesn't matter.
So
Aaron
what?
Donald. Who's
better
better
with
than
you?
Aaron
I'm
Donald?
trying to
Who
fight him.
else would you
I'm
want
trying to fight
besides
him all.
Aaron Donald on defense?
I'm trying to-
Listen, Tom Brady retired too. Guess what? Everyone's signing up for him.
I don't need you ganging up. I'm trying to.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to be a voice of reason.
Hey, Dougie, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question,
Let's relax
Dougie?
a little.
Can I ask you a question, Dougie? Were you always planning on going to Ireland for vacation? Or,
Yeah,
or did the wife help you change your mind? Were you always planning on going?
I was planning on going weeks ago.
I'm just saying, people change their mind. I'm just saying that people change their mind. You know what I'm saying? Damn, he can't change his mind. He can't sit up there and say, okay, I think I'm done. And then I say, okay, let me reflect on this. I'm having a good time.
And then
I'm
you
a reigning
taste
defending
success,
champion. I'm going to come back.
Most of your team returns, and you're like, let's run it back.
You don't think there's any hangover effect with the Ram team that was somewhat fortunate to win a Super Bowl?
I think that
fortunate to beat San Francisco.
First of all,
Wait, let's back it up. Why would you say fortunate to beat San Francisco?
Zach Taylor wasn't Vince Lombardi as far as the play calling was concerned. Am I right, Mr. Smith?
Stop it.
He was
terrible. Let's say he wasn't terrible. He was terrible against the Patriots. He wasn't terrible in this particular Super Bowl. That is not true. That's number one. Number two, they did what it took to get it done. And remember, Odell Beckham Jr., who I believe would have been Super Bowl MVP had he not gotten hurt the way he was playing in the first quarter. I'm sorry, had he not gone down, they'd have blew him out. So every time, once he goes down, Robert Woods is already down. You got a key on Cooper Kupp, and where Stafford had to go with the damn football. You had no running game. Akers and those boys weren't 100%. Odell Beckham Jr. goes down. Woods had been down. All you had was Kupp. And they still found a way to win the damn game. I mean, come on, doggy. I think you're being a bit unfair to the Los Angeles Rams. I think you're being a bit unfair, buddy. I really do.
He loves L.A., loves McVay. So now you got to be careful. If you love him so much, put him 1. Put him 1. Show me something. You put the Bills there who blew a lead against Kansas
Hold
City.
on. Show you something. Did you say show you something? Did you say show you something? How about this? They're the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. Is that enough evidence for you?
Put up one.
Is that enough evidence for you?
Put up one. All right, let's go. I need an espresso.
Unbelievable.
Let's go.
I mean, come on.
Oh, my God. There he is, the one and only Pat Beverly, who debates like he plays, and that is a compliment.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth.
Now you know what responsibility comes with sitting in that seat, right, Bev?
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah. The first responsibility is to sit up and talk
Sit
loud.
up. There we go. How about that? I don't mind that. I don't mind that stipulation. I mean, those are, you got to know what you're talking about. You got to have all your facts in order. But more importantly, you do have to sit up, talk loud, and next time I need a blazer. You know you got a fly wardrobe. I need you to slow that because, as you know, I always show the fly wardrobe.
Okay, say less.
But that's
Say less. Say less. I love it. I'm just trying to get a sponsor by Dior, that's all.
All right, gentlemen, want to talk about that game last night? Let's do it.
Yes.
So it was a tale of two halves. So Boston came into that game without Al Horford or Marcus Smart, but led most of the first. Then second half, the heat was turned up behind a huge third quarter from Jimmy Butler to take game one in a 118-107 victory. Butler put up 41, 9, and 5. He's at the mic.
More than anything, it just shows us what we're capable of whenever we worry about getting stops, getting into the open floor, getting to the free throw line, all of those good things. It just reminds me that we can do it. I see it on this piece of paper. I lived it, so I expect us to be able to do that every quarter from here on out.
Got out tough, out physical. They looked like they came out in the second half, and wanted to up their physicality and aggression on both ends, and they did that.
All right, Pat, what do you think? Did Jimmy Butler prove he's the best player in this series?
A two-way player who does it on both ends. Underrated leader, yes. I know it's real early. I know it's only been one game. Obviously, Boston's going to make adjustments. But after seeing last series, after seeing this game, man, I feel like he takes his game to another level, the bigger the lights is. So I have to go with Jimmy for sure.
Over Tatum.
Over anybody that's in that series right now. Just from game one, I have to.
Where are you, Doggy?
I think you got to listen, Butler's been phenomenal. I still think you probably got to take Tatum. And look at me, I didn't even want Tatum in the top 10 here about a month ago. But the 46 points against Milwaukee in Game 6, very good against Durant. I know a bad third quarter, and he's got a little better supporting cast. It's close. I would take Tatum. It's close.
Yeah, but I just feel like without Marcus Smart, I think it's more pressure on him for him to now he has to bring up the ball. Now he still has to defend Jimmy Butler. He still has to play make. He still has to score. He still has to rebound. Rebounding is a very big key in this series. So with all of that, with the injuries, I don't think you see the best version of Jason Tatum, all because he's stretched out and he has to do a lot more without those guys.
And Smart and Horford are day-to-day. Stephen A., where are you on those?
Well, that's why I will roll with Doggy, really, because of what Bev just explained. The fact of the matter is Jason Tatum had to do a bit more because Marcus Smart and Al Horford was out. So you had a rebounder and a steady veteran front court body that was out, and you had the reigning defensive player of the year that was a backcourt mate that was out as well. So when you look at it from that perspective and you're going up against a tough team like the Miami Heat, led by a rough rider, ain't no question about that, in Jimmy Butler. That's what he brings to the table. You got to have all your ducks in order. You got to have everything available to you. And that's not what Jason Tatum had. So when you look at what Jimmy Butler did in game one, I would say to you, first of all, let's understand something. They punked the Boston Celtics in the third quarter. I mean, when you come out there, you go on a 22-2 run. When you force Jason Tatum into 6 turnovers and just 2 shot attempts in the quarter. When you outscore them by 25 in the quarter from open and tap of the third quarter, and that's really where the game was won, then obviously on this particular day, there's nothing to sneeze at in regards to Jimmy Butler. He set the tone in every way, not just scoring, but defensively. I mean, he forced 4 turnovers himself. And so when you look at it from that perspective, I understand how anybody would think that. But to me, let's also put things in perspective by understanding Marcus Smart being out was a major, major loss. I mean, if you looked at him on the sidelines and the way he was getting after everybody, because it wasn't because you were playing bad or because you were struggling. It was because Miami's physicality overwhelmed you. And that's not something that is supposed to happen. And Bev, you can appreciate this practically better than anybody in the NBA. It's one thing to lose a basketball game. It's another thing entirely to have your heart snatched out of your chest. And imagine that you are on the bench and you can't play. And you don't see your team losing because jump shots are falling and stuff like that. You see them losing because another team physically outwilled your team and looked like they had their hearts snatched out of their chest over a 12-minute period. It would drive you nuts, just the way that it drove Marcus Smart nuts. And I think that you'll see a different Boston Celtics team once he gets back out on the floor. Because win or lose, what you're not going to do is punk them with Marcus Smart on the basketball court.
So when I like the analogy you used, rip heart out chest. I just don't think if Boston is not healthy and Marcus Smart and Al Horford is not playing, I don't see Boston beating Miami
I agree.
consistently over and over and over and over again. I just don't see it. The healthiest team always wins. Everyone in the league knows that. Players, analysts,
right.
That doesn't change. The healthiest team always wins. And at the end of the game, just like we talked about in the Sun series, you see who they was attacking. You see who they wanted that mismatch against. They got it. They couldn't do nothing about it. You can't change your personnel overnight. The Miami guards who started the game, they came out kind of flat. They picked it up the second half.
Right.
I like Miami, man. Without a healthy Boston, I really like Miami.
Bev, let me ask you this question, though. And also, it's just a question, not even a debate. It's just a question. It's one thing for Marcus Smart and Al Horford to be out. It's another thing entirely to find out at the 11th hour that they're out.
True.
We were wondering whether Marcus Smart was going to play, guys, Dougie, Bev, and then we found out he wasn't going to play. Al Horford, all of a sudden, we all walked into the arena. I didn't know that Al Horford wasn't playing until we walked into the arena. And then we found out about safety protocols. And so if you're the Boston Celtics, my question to you, Bev, would be this. To lose two starters, particularly of that magnitude, at the last minute, how much does that factor in to the kind of pass, per se, that Boston could have because of what happened last night?
I think it takes away, obviously, it takes away from the mental psyche, obviously. The team does, when Marcus Smart plays, the team does have a makeup of Marcus Smart, whatever that is, if that's the pit bull, if that's the dog, but whatever his persona is and his makeup is, the team takes up that makeup when he plays. When he doesn't play, the team takes up the makeup of a Jaylen Brown as a Jason Tatum. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's very different at that point. And for me to go into the game and I find out D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns not playing, it'll mess up my psyche too. Mm-hmm. And on the other end, if I'm playing against, I don't know, the Memphis Grizzlies or something, and Ja Morant isn't playing or Jackson isn't playing, I feel even more confident now. So I think you can look at the tails both ways.
All right, I'll say two things.
Yeah.
First off, Lowry's not playing for Miami, too, so they have an injury they have to deal with. Mm-hmm. Number two, Boston was up 13 in the first half, and they were up 62-54 at the half. Now, I don't buy the idea that they won the three quarters, but let's face it, they outscored them in the first, second, and the fourth. 39-14 is 39-14, but they've earned the respect with Game 6. I'm not trying to negate Smart and Horford, but Pritchard scored 18 points and shot the ball pretty well. I know they put him in pick and roll, and he couldn't guard anybody.
He couldn't guard anybody.
I understand that.
No, he couldn't guard
I get it, but he
anybody.
did score 18 points.
That don't matter if you lose.
I understand. He made,
He's a -1.
Negative, I get it. But the idea here that now we're going to say that the Celtics can't beat the Heat because these two, first off, they're going to play. Oh, Smart's going to play sooner or later. Who knows on Horford?
By the way, Dougie, they're speculating.
What about
They're
game
speculating.
two? What?
They're speculating that Horford might be
Smart's
out
gonna
the
play?
first three games. They're speculating that he might be out the first three games of the series. It's possible because we don't know how serious the whole COVID thing is with him. We don't know.
Yeah,
but Smart's coming back. But Smart's going to play.
If Smart didn't play game 2, would you still pick the Celtics?
No, I think the Celtics are going to win. I think the Celtics will win this series. I agree with what Pat Bev said. I'm very alarmed by that third quarter.
Yeah.
Butler played great. I don't like the pick and roll with Pritchard. I understand all that. but I have too much respect for what the Celtics have done in this postseason. They beat Jan. I know Middleton was out, but Game 6 in Milwaukee, they won.
Yeah.
I'm going to it's Game 1. They just finished Sunday night. I'll give them a little pass. Let me see this again before I think that they can't.
Stephen A., are you still staying with Boston now? Now that you just saw Game 1?
I was getting ready to go there because I wanted Doggy and Bev to hear what I'm about to say, Molly.
Okay.
I have the Boston Celtics in 7, assuming everybody's playing. I'm not picking the Boston Celtics to win this series without Marcus Smart. I'm not picking the Boston Celtics to win this series without Al Horford, because even though Robert Williams looked good last night, you know, in terms of his activity, particularly in the first half when he hit all 5 of his shots, had 12 points, 2 blocked shots. The fact of the matter is you still wonder about his health situation, with him being a bit hobbled, with Al Horford being out. Definitely, the most important piece to me is Marcus Smart's availability. If Marcus Smart is not available, the Miami Heat are going to the finals. He's that important to the Boston Celtics. To that, you say what, Bev?
I say, I think we're looking at it from. We need to look at it from a basketball standpoint. You know
okay.
Robert Williams is a 5-man who rolls, slip screens, rolls. Miami Heat, they switching all that. Now we got Al Horford, who's the best at screening and popping, which means it's a 5-man guarding another 5-man on a perimeter, which means your next low man is a guy probably my height, 6'1", 6'2". Now you take all that out the game. Who's stopping who from getting to the paint? That's what I'm saying. And you have your defensive player of the year out. I understand they weathered the storm against Milwaukee. I respect that. I mean, I love the grittiness of the team. Hell of a coach. But when you're talking about this is the number 1 team, and I know we don't talk about them enough. We show the top 4 teams left. We only show 3. We leave the Heat out. What Jimmy Butler is doing consecutively, night after night after night, imposing his will. The game is. It seems like he's controlling the game. He's never rushed. He's always at his pace. No one can guard him, as we can see. He's getting to the free throw anytime he wants. And in the fourth quarter, Pritchard, if he's guarding, they won't be successful. I mean, they just won't. It's just hard. All
right. We got to get in a break. Pat, Bev, you have been tremendous these past 3 days on television.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, I know you still have a lot more to do on the court, but seriously,
That's some excellent analysis you just gave, my brother.
You've been incredible.
I appreciate
really.
that.
And it's been so much fun having you, and I hope you'll be back soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ooh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You're just being I told him he can't call me ma'am. It makes me feel old, but it's all good. Mama raised you right. It's all good.
Thank you.
When we come back here on First Take, will Luka and the Mavs continue their magical run as they typical weapon? Who wrote this? Steph, Clay, and Jordan Poole, Stephen A's terrible nickname, and not to mention Draymond taking on Luka legend himself. The 3rd pick in the 2018 draft is showing why that was probably too late. Luka's Game 7 performance versus Phoenix broke a tie with the Warriors legend and Hall of Famer Rick Barry for the most 35-point games aged 23 or younger. Doncic was the 2nd best scorer versus the Warriors in the regular season. So Christopher Mad Dog Russo, I ask you this, sir. Who has the higher ceiling? Is it Steph Curry or Luka Doncic?
Well, you know, Curry has already established himself as, you know, one of the all-timers. And he's won his 3 championships. He gets another one without Durant. That would raise it even more. But I think we all know where Curry is. Again, I said in the first hour of the show, Doncic, he reminds me, I know you don't like it. I'm an old-timer. He doesn't know what he's talking. He reminds me a lot of Larry Bird. There is just his personality. There are some similarities. He's arrogant. He loves to beat you. He laughs at his opponent, and then he goes out there and he beats his opponent. He's averaged 40 a game in the elimination games. He could have scored 70 against the Phoenix backcourt last Sunday night in Game 7. He had 27 at the half, 57-27 before Kidd called mercy on the poor Suns, who were a disaster in that 7th game. Here with this Golden State series. He's playing with house money. The Mavericks do not have the supporting cast that the Warriors do. I like Golden State in 5 games. I think they'll probably win this series in 5 games. I know Stevie said maybe 7. I think 5. But Doncic, specifically, as a basketball player, the fact that he can shoot threes, and I know his percentage isn't great, but he makes big ones, and his distance is phenomenal. Who can forget the 3 he made to beat the Clippers 2 years ago in the bubble? He's great back to the basket. He's a great passer. He gets there. I don't care about missing free throws, 70%. He makes his free throws. This guy is an all-timer. You guys, we did the list with the point guards. You know, Paul here and this guy there, and where is Kidd, and how could you put Kuzi? I'll come back in 12 years. I'll be finished, but he'll still be flying, and I'll put Doncic in the top 5, and he'll be deserved to be there. This guy is tremendous, and his upside is going to be higher at the end of the day than Curry is.
Dougie, you won't be finished. You're an immortal.
Oh,
you never forget that.
Thank you.
From the words of Molly Karen, an immortal.
That means
Take
something.
it to the bank.
I mean something. All right, let's hear from you, Stevie.
Go ahead, Miami Vice. Relax.
The ridiculousness that gets spewed out of your mouth is just, it's amazing, I must confess.
What are you complaining about?
Let me tell you this. Steph Curry this season has averaged 25, 6, and 5.
Right.
On 43.7% shooting.
Right.
And 38% from three-point range.
Right.
And that's a bad year. That's a bad year. This man is the greatest shooter God ever created. That would include Larry Bird. Larry Bird couldn't shoot like this kid. Larry Bird. Okay? So let's be very, very clear who we're talking about here. I'm not going to deny the greatness of Luka Doncic and what he could potentially be, the greatness that we're witnessing from him. I'm not throwing any shade on him. But didn't you just talk about a different subject just a little less than an hour ago? Wasn't it you who said, quote, could you at least get one ring? Wasn't that you? I think that was Mad Dog Russo. I think I was sitting on the air listening to Mad Dog Russo, and he specifically said, could you give me one ring first? Could you give me one ring? Steph Curry has 3. 3. Steph Curry's going to 5 NBA championships in a row. 5 NBA finals in a row. Steph Curry, without question, right now, would be a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. And when we go, are you ready for this? Put Doggy back up on the screen. I want to see his face when I say this. Put it back up there.
I'm here.
Pete Maravich, Dale Ellis, Ricky Pierce, Larry Bird, Andrew Toney. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Allen Houston to a lesser degree. Ray Allen, Reggie Miller. I mean, the list goes on and on. Nobody is a better shooter than Steph Curry. Ever. And you're telling me that Luka Doncic, who by the way, is literally 2 weeks removed from winning his first playoff series. Right. And Mad Dog Russo is up here bloviating with all of these superlatives and these histrionics and this hyperbole about Luka Doncic. I'm not saying you're wrong about his talent. I'm not saying you're wrong about his greatness. But to just sit up there in one breath 45 minutes ago talking about a guy, could you give me one ring? One ring. And Steph Curry's got 3. He's got 3. And by the way, what about the system? What about the fact that Rick Carlisle was once coaching Dallas, and he said, quote, to me, I woke up and I said, what the hell am I doing? Give him the ball. Let him run the offense. So you got Luka literally running the offense, holding the ball in his hands, a la LeBron James, and deciding and dictating pace, when he's going to pass the ball, who he's going to pass the ball to, etc. Steph Curry running all over the place, moving without the basketball, and firing from everywhere. What are you talking about, Doug?
I'm going to give you 2 things. We'll get to Bird in a minute. How did Steph do last year when Thompson wasn't on the team? Did they get out of the first round? They didn't even get into the first round.
They didn't even get out the playing game. They lost to Memphis.
All right.
They lost to Memphis.
If I asked you right now, if you were the Golden State GM, I'll give you Dinwiddie, you give me Thompson. You think he'd make the trade? He would not. Doncic has absolutely nobody around him. Even Porzingis was a bust. He's got nobody there. Those are role players. Curry has a Hall of Famer in Thompson, a budding superstar in Poole, and Green, who does a little bit of everything. And Green, I wouldn't necessarily vote for him, Hall of Famer too. So from that standpoint, you were talking about two Hall of Famers that he is playing with. You got a Hall of Famer on Doncic's team right now? And here it is, Doncic is in the conference final. And I'll tell you one other thing. What, did you not see the game on Sunday night? That is a team that won 64 games.
And
he destroyed them. He embarrassed them. They got booed out of the arena.
Yes.
At halftime, they got booed. They never boo in Phoenix. They booed him out of the arena. They made you a point guard. They made you a point guard. He was a 0 in the game. Butler was 3 for 18.
One game, yes.
This guy could have scored 70. He scored 27 at the half, and he's got nobody with him. And by the way, if the three-point shot was what it is today, back in the 80s, Bird would have scored 50 a game. He won every three-point shooting contest he ever was involved in. He made every mid-ranger in the world, and he was a 90% free throw shooter. Outside of one jumper when he was bad, he had a broken hand when he missed the Game 4 jumper against Magic in 1985. I don't recall ever a big shot in a big game that he ever missed. Don't compare anybody. Anybody offensively.
Don't compare.
He's a dog.
Don't compare.
Bird is one of the great scorers
Don't
that he's
compare.
in the history of the sport.
Larry Bird is one of the greatest players to ever grace this earth. I love Larry Bird's game, and he was Mr. Clutch. And he walked into a three-point shooting contest and said, who's coming in second place? Okay. That's what he said, because it was always said, we know how great Larry Bird is. I'm not taking anything away from Larry Bird. Who is, time out. With all of that being said, who is the greatest shooter ever? Who is that? Who is universally recognized as the greatest shooter the game has ever been blessed with?
We got to get into commercial break.
Sam Jones.
It's Steph Curry.
Sam Jones.
A new hand gesture just came in, and that'd be this back, right? Stevie. Poor Stevie. That was a tough one for Stevie. All right, let's keep it going.
Really? Really?
You lost that one, Steve.
Oh,
really?
Kevin Durant and the Nets were swept the first round of the playoffs, and his time in Brooklyn has been less than stellar. Much of it not his fault, though. The two-time champs rep has taken a hit, and now Shaquille O'Neal is joining in on the jokes, posting a fan tweet on his Instagram story, which sarcastically listed Kevin Durant's accomplishments since he left Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors in 2019. 1 through 3, blank, the end. Stephen A.
Yes.
Do you think KD should regret leaving Steph and the Warriors?
Yes. And I believe that because of the selection he has made. It's not that he left Golden State. It's what he left Golden State for. I believe from a business perspective, no matter how much his brand may be worth, it is nothing compared to what it would have been worth if he were a New York Knick. I think the level of support that he would have had with that brand would have at least doubled, potentially tripled the value of the KD brand. That's number one. But the biggest thing, and I've said this before, Doggy, and I don't know if you've heard me say this, so I'll say this with you on the air. I got a lot of love and respect for Kevin Durant. I've gotten to know him a little bit over the years, and I respect the hell out of him, and we all know how I feel about Mama Durant. And he's a two-time champion, the two-time NBA Finals MVP, and one of the greatest players that has ever graced this game. And people get on him about his sensitivity because he'll clap back at people on Twitter and all of that other stuff. Well, I see that in reverse. Although I wouldn't advise him to comment about everything everybody says, I love the fact that he is the one, Doggy, that will respond to you rather than sending a hanger-on or somebody else to do it for him. If he has an issue with you, he's man enough to address it with you. And I respect the hell out of him for that. And I'm very, very fond of him. Having said all of that, there is no way around it. If the Golden State Warriors advance to the finals, if it's not happening already, Doggy, if the Golden State Warriors advance to the finals, I have been on the record, Doggy, saying, unfortunately and totally unfair to him, people will remember him more as being the dude who left Steph Curry for Kyrie Irving than they'll remember the championships. Because that's how idiotic that move appears to be as of right now because of how unreliable Kyrie Irving has been. Kyrie Irving taking time off. Kyrie Irving get injured. Kyrie Irving taking his positions politically and otherwise, being distracted from the game of basketball. Kyrie Irving, the vaccine mandate, and 98% of the league, 99% of the league gets vaccinated. But Kyrie's going to hold firm. Yeah, all of that's fine. Individually speaking, perfectly his right. But it left Kevin Durant hanging because Kevin Durant was the one left holding the bag, having to hold down the Brooklyn franchise on his back, knowing that he would need that help. That's a decision KD made because KD insisted to the Brooklyn Nets, I want to be here with Kyrie Irving. That's why the Brooklyn Nets took Kyrie Irving to begin with, because they knew they couldn't get KD without Kyrie. So the fact that that decision was made, that's why there should be regret leaving Golden State. You had a structured environment where all you had to do was ball, which is all he wants to do during basketball season. He just wants to ball. He don't want no drama. He don't want no nonsense. All he wants to do is ball. And you were able to do that in Golden State. Everything evolved around basketball. Here in Brooklyn, because of who his teammate is and who his road dog is, his buddy, the fact is it's far more than that. And it's a distraction. And as a result, he has paid for it. He's been in Brooklyn. They've got one playoff series win on their resume. Golden State may be going back to the finals.
Yeah, but obviously a lot of this season was none of the season was Kevin Durant's fault in terms of on the court.
It's not his fault.
So, no, of course. I just want to make that clear. But Mad Dog, I want to ask you this. Do you have an issue with Shaq making that comment or sharing that comment?
Absolutely. I mean, and Stephen A is 100% right. I mean, Durant wouldn't know me as far as he can throw me, but I love Durant. I'm with him 1,000%. He made a terrible mistake joining with Irving. We all know that. Shaq, hold on now, Shaq, be fair, all right? He came to the Nets with an Achilles tear, so he didn't play at all in that first year. Then he had to deal with all the COVID nonsense, which was a disaster. He had contact testing. He missed a lot of games. And then last year, Harden couldn't move. Irving hurt his ankle, and all he did against Milwaukee was average 35 a game, and they gave me the stats. I don't remember exactly, but he had 47 in Game 5 and 48 in Game 7, and if his toe wasn't on the line, they would have beaten the Bucks and probably would have won the championship. So the idea, this year, tough year, no argument. He had a bad series. Embarrassing, no argument. But, geez, I mean, to sit there and say what a disaster that he was, that he left the Warriors, that's not fair. That's completely not fair. Here's Shaq. Let's face it, Shaq. You know, he left Kobe. Let's not forget that. He left a great star to go to Miami. Now, he won a championship in Miami as a spare part, but he left Kobe, and Shaq never could make big free throws. And Shaq, you know, was not going up against a great center when he played. I mean, I love Shaq. He's got great personality. We all love him. But let's be careful with Shaq that he's all of us in the great Aristotle and the greatest player in the history of the NBA, because he isn't. And that's unfair to and he made a good point about Durant. Now, the difference, the mistake that Stevie A made, and amongst a few of them, is that the going to the finals is not enough for Curry. Curry's got to win a championship. Okay? The idea that he goes to the finals and loses to Boston or Miami, well, he showed everybody that he can win without Durant. No, he hasn't. And again, that first championship that he won, he's lucky he won it because Cleveland was terribly injured. Right. No Irving, no Love. He would have lost if those two played. Mm-hmm. He lost to Irving with a 3-1 lead in the second title. And then he got Durant, they won 2 titles. So it's not like Curry's won 8 championships without Durant. He's won one shakily, and he hasn't won another one since. So let's take it easy about how Curry has done this without Durant, and Durant's done nothing without Curry. If Durant had anybody playing with him last year, they would have beaten Milwaukee. And if his feet were not too big, he would have beaten them in Game 7. The thing where the foot with the toe was on the line. And that's just a millimeter for crying out loud. So be fair. Shaq, be fair. You be fair.
Well, let me say this here. First of all, I'm always fair. Let's get that out of the way. I'm Mr. Fair. I'm Mr. Fair right there. That's who I am. That's number one. Number two, you know what, Dougie? I mean, I know you're a little bit older than me, but I feel like right now is one of them arguments that I used to have with my dad. God rest his soul. Diehard Yankee fan and all of this other stuff. And no matter what position he took, I had to educate him sometimes, even though he knew his history and he knew the facts. But it was his perspective on the facts that I challenged. And see, that's the thing about going up against Mad Dog Russo. So many people will try try to come at you like you don't know the facts. See, they don't know the secret that I know. Oh, you know what the hell you're talking about. You've got your facts in order. The problem is your perspective is a bit skewed. So let me educate you on some things, okay? Number one, when we talk about Steph Curry, let's understand something here, okay? I never said that getting to the finals was enough and that's all he had to do. The comparison to contextualize my argument is that by going to the finals and us talking about him in the finals, but we ain't talking about Kevin Durant, we were going to look at Kevin Durant and said, you left him for Kyrie. That's the point that I was making, because you left a structured environment with a guy that clearly loves the game and he's all about playing basketball just like you, Kevin Durant, and you were about going someplace on your own but choosing Kyrie Irving as a compadre as opposed to Steph Curry. Now, as a basketball player, Kyrie Irving is sensational. As far as I'm concerned, he's on that Steph Curry level. The brother's spectacular. And Kyrie Irving is a Hall of Fame talent. But in terms of the drama that comes along with them, considering the fact that Kevin Durant is against drama, he don't want no parts of that interfering with a basketball season and a basketball team. It seemed foolhardy for him to make that selection. That's all I was saying about the Steph Curry thing going to the finals in terms of Kevin Durant. That's number one. Number two, let me educate you about something you were factually incorrect about.
Which is?
Shaquille O'Neal did not leave Los Angeles and end up in Miami. He was forced out. Dr. Buss made a decision and had tipped Kobe Bryant. We know I know this. I'm giving you facts. God rest his soul.
Pick the one guy over the other. I understand.
Dr. Buss made the decision because Shaq was looking at that time. $100 million contracts wasn't going out of style. It was not that easy to come by the way that it is today. Shaq wanted big paper. He was looking for a longer term commitment, and Kobe Bryant wasn't as interested in playing with him anymore. So Kobe Bryant made that clear to Dr. Buss, and Dr. Buss made the call that I'm going to have my faith in Kobe Bryant moving forward into the future at the expense of Shaquille O'Neal. And that's why Shaquille O'Neal was traded to Miami. And when Shaquille O'Neal was traded to Miami, there was a whole bunch of hate thrown in Kobe Bryant's direction, because how could you get rid of the big Aristotle, the Diesel? What the hell is going on? It wasn't Shaq's choice. It was Kobe Bryant who made that call, and Dr. Buss supported him. That is not walking out the door and departing for South Beach. That's being forced out the door, landing on your feet, and winning a championship anyway. That's what happened.
We're up against it. Work with me here. Let me get in a break, and if you need to finish anything after that, we can. Still ahead here on First Take with Tiger Woods eyeing a major championship